Greetings. Still talking about my lifespan, my lifetime up here in Detroit. This is Brother Blacklight. I hope this video finds you and yours in the best of health. And I'm going to give you some knowledge. You can put it in the bank like wealth. We was talking about uh, how my mother and myself and my family got introduced to the Nation of Islam. And if you have patience with me, I hope this will enlighten you into pursuing your black state of mind. The only way you're going to get black power is you got to have a black united state of mind. And that's our problem today, because we all had different experience coming up into this world or mental frame of thought called United States of America. Remember, United States of America is an abstract. There's really no United States on a map. You're going to just find hills and valleys and some imaginary lines drawn through a globe or something, or a landscape, but it's no lines. It's just one plain big globe with natural borders and boundaries like mountains and rivers and deserts and stuff like that, valleys. But getting back to my experience here in Detroit, Michigan, my mother took me out the nation at 7 years old. I still was going around my people. I still was going around my Uncle Aziz. Matter of fact, sometimes he would babysit me. But while he was babysitting me, he'd be schooling me. And I'm quite sure I met either Malcolm or some of his brothers, but I was too little to remember or recall it. But I remember at a very, very early age, I was sitting in a meeting with my mother, a temple meeting, and up front was a blackboard with the American flag and the flag of Islam that Master Farad brought. And I remember that they had a black man hanging on a tree, lynched. Say, which one will survive the War of Armageddon? Well, that was an early education for me. But when my mother, she wouldn't let me go to the University of Islam. She went to regular public schools. I never could adjust in public schools. I always knew it was something wrong. Something wasn't right. I always knew that these white people teaching me about the American flag, pledging allegiance to the American flag, because back in those days, before class began, you would put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America. You pledge allegiance to that flag. And in the back of my mind, I remember the flag of Islam, and I knew it wasn't right. I also knew, because you see, this was in the 50s, early 50s when I started going to regular public school. In early 50s is when, you know, Dr. Martin Luther King, and they were showing on TV dogs biting our people up, you know, and they say for color only. You would see all that. But see, in Detroit, the white people wasn't so aggressive. They were sneaky with theirs. See, down south they let you know that they don't like niggas, but up in Detroit they sneaky, man. They be smiling at you, but they be planning on your destruction. Because we had several riots back in '42. You know, and in the '40s we had a couple riots, and but this was the '50s, and Martin Luther King was on his campaign, of civil rights because they couldn't vote down south. But when we came over on the west side of Detroit back in '56, I was 10. It was all white neighborhood we moved in. And there was a few brothers and sisters over there. The school I attended was an elementary school called Custer, just like Custer's Last Stand. And that's when I first encountered straight up racism. On the east side, we had a few hillbillies on the block, but it was mostly, I was living on Field and Jefferson on the east side. I was about 8 or 9, and white boys wasn't ruling over there. It was a whole lot of black people and Mexicans, Chinese, and so we moved over on the west side on Wilderman and Finkel, and that neighborhood right there, there was a bunch of badass brothers over there with heart. I'm not gonna go into details right now, but I'll give you bits and pieces as we go. But the main point I want to get to right now is that before the '67 riots, I was still living on Wildermere. I lived on Wildermere up until 21 on the west side, and that was that was '67. A little after the '67 riots, I moved away further west, not further west, but southeast. And anyway, uh, when I left out of there, out over there in Wildermere, it was an all-black neighborhood. We encountered the police, and they had problems with us, so they had to have a special unit called Stress. These were police officers police from the Vietnam War. So I noticed the same technique now that police unit is using. The police is using now. They got veterans from the war, Iraq, Afghanistan. They use that same police technique now as they used back then in the Vietnam War, how they was policing. But they lost that war. And they're losing this war now. Even though they are even though the Middle Easterners that they're fighting Middle Easterners that's against each other. They're supposed to be in Islam, but it's different sects that's fighting each other. So I draw the parallel to them to the brothers over here that say they are Muslims, like the Moors, the Nation of Gods and Earth. The Nation of Gods and Earth don't say they Muslims, but they got the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And then you got uh, Wallace D sect of Orthodox Muslims, and then you got Farrakhan, and then you got something that broke off from Farrakhan because some follow Farrakhan and some follow the teachings, still follow the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now this is what this video is going to be about, to straighten all this out to you young cats and you young sisters who are confused, because you got people like Polite challenging and his leader, teacher. At one time he had Captain York, or York, Dr. York, who's in jail. He got some of his style from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So anyway, stay with me, because this video about to be a continuation, and I'm going to straighten all this out for you. Just have patience with me, and we're going to get started on that on the next video. So tune in and listen real good. Black Light.